Hi.
All right. How's it going today? Good. Excellent. So I think as like a startup, as a warm-up, we were thinking that we would get everyone to stand up and kind of start clapping your hands, get some energy back, and
We didn't talk about that.
just kidding. I'm just joking. I know that that all I remember from lunch was the piece of cake at the end, that chocolate with the raspberry top. It was delicious. Hit the spot. All right, cool. Tye,
Yeah.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I feel like these are my people. How many people out there are responsible for distribution in your hotel? Raise your hand. Higher. All right. You are my people. I think our therapists could get together and have an amazing party together, right? The things that they probably know about us. Pretty. You have to be an eternal optimist, like
Yep.
Pollyanna optimistic, because it's never going to get better.
True.
You within your hotel, if it's like the airline industry, you get asked everything, and you're like, "Why are you asking me? That's not my department." But everyone thinks that you know everything.
True.
Yeah, it's wild, but it's a fun place to be. I miss it. So I ran distribution at United Airlines for about 10 years. That's where Adrian and I met each other. We came up with this new thing called NDC in the industry, which is what we're here to talk about, back in 2012. And all the distribution people got together. We had a lot of parties, and a lot of some of these business requirements reflect that. But the nice thing is that we came up with a standard. They say a camel is a horse that was designed by a committee, and that's what the first version of NDC looked like. And we can talk a little bit about whether that was good or bad. But happy to be here and to help you avoid doing the things that we did in the airline industry, so that you can do good things.
Yeah, I think that's where we should start this conversation, right? So, hello everyone. I'm Adrian Emmanuel, IHG, Global Distribution, and I am welcomed on stage with Tye Radcliffe, who just gave you a little bit of background. But I think it would be good for us to learn a little bit more about what you did in the beginning of NDC, where you were at the time. You mentioned United Airlines.
Yep.
And then where you are today before we really dive into the NDC topic. You have us for 30 minutes, so this isn't a 20 or a 15-minute session. So I hope you're all ready for a really fun ride. So, Tye.
As fun as NDC can be. I love it, and you'll see why. So when I was at United, I was asked, I used to be in technology at United, and the guy that ran distribution at the time said, there's something going on over in Geneva with IATA. IATA is sort of like our version of HEDNA. It's the International Airline Transport Association. They're having some meeting about some new thing called NDC. We have no idea what it's about. Will you please go over there and figure out what's happening? So I did, and when I left, I was elected chairman of some booking and ticketing task force, and so I have been involved in it ever since. And essentially what it is that the messages that airlines use to work with a lot, and many times legacy technology, they're the core passenger service system, I guess for a hotel is a PMS system. That core passenger servicing system uses messages that were developed in the 1960s and 70s to run the business. Edifact, teletype, and so they said in 2012, there's this thing called XML, which has been around for many, many years already. Let's take that XML message and create a new standard. And there are lots of people here who probably said, "Oh, you already had a standard with OTA. Why did you move away from that?"
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When they shared that we're going to move to XML, we're going to explore this new messaging. Were the individuals in the meeting, were they like, oh, wow? Or were a lot of them like, well, wait a second, that's existed for a very long time?
No, because in the airline industry it was new. Because it was Edifact and teletype. I mean, if you looked at an Edifact or teletype message, you'd be horrified. And think of it, airlines back in 2011, 2012, they were doing really cool things on their website, cool-ish. And we wanted to be able to sell those things through travel agencies. How? It was a green screen, right? It was a black screen with green letters, and it all came down to a price. Who's got the lowest price? Airline travel became a complete commodity in the eyes of the travel agent. They're looking for the lowest fare. And so the airlines are like, wait, we're investing billions of dollars in our hard product and trying to make things better, better lounges, et cetera, but we can't share that with the travel agency because they're using this tool, you know, that's fairly basic. GDS technology has come a long way since then. There are pictures and things, and the hotels have been way ahead of us in that space for a long, long time, which is great. We've been trying to catch up.
So let me ask a question. Who was in the room with you, and how did, like, okay, so you went to this meeting, and all of a sudden you're a part of this task force. How did the industry, like, what was the time that the industry was like, wait a second, we really need to get everyone on board and figure out the next steps to NDC, new distribution capabilities, right? Is everyone familiar with the NDC, the term? I don't see any hands up, I guess I will ask. Like, do we need to really cover
there's some people that have no idea. Does that mean you do or you don't? You do. You do.
Okay,
good,
cool.
Good. All right.
So who came together to kind of drive and push this forward?
Great question.
Talk about that. Like, how did you get everyone in the room? How did you get other airlines that are competing against each other into a room? How did you bring along the distribution systems, the technology partners, without like suing each other or fighting or battling? Like, how did you, like?
There was a lawyer. First and foremost, there was a lawyer in the room. You have to do an agenda, and I don't know if you've probably all had this training that if someone starts to talk about pricing or markets, you have to spill a glass of water and walk out and make sure everybody saw you walk out of the room, right? But in all seriousness, that is actually a serious thing. But if you, you know, we really wanted everybody to come together. IATA, by definition, is owned by airlines. The people that are on the board of IATA are CEOs of airlines, right? Okay. So by and large, it is an airline organization. However, I don't think airlines at the beginning wanted to do this in isolation. Frankly, we didn't know enough. Like, as one of the leaders, I knew somewhat. I used to work for Orbitz, so I had some sense of what an agency needed. I worked for other agencies in the past. But a lot of my colleagues from the distribution space at the time did not really understand the dynamics of TMC mid-office applications that do file finishing or any of that. So we had a lot of arguments as we came together to try and design the business requirements for this, because we asked the TMCs to come along. We asked the OTAs to be there. A couple were. A lot of them said, nah, I don't think this is ever going to happen, or I don't have time. Oh, it's expensive to go to Geneva. You get to fly on a plane for free. I don't. You know, so we had a lot of trouble physically getting the TMCs and other agencies into the room to help us design this, and we suffered greatly as a result. Because when we actually started to do it, they were like, oh my God, I can't believe you all are actually doing this, number one. Number two, let's get together with the trade associations, and they ran to the GDSs to say, you've got to stop this. And the GDS is like, but airlines my customer and the agency is my customer, what am I gonna do? So they were kind of stuck in the middle, unfortunately. The agencies, I don't know if you all remember this, but they got kind of ugly for a while. They started making comments to the Department of Transportation. The NDC was this boogeyman that was gonna, so okay, this is a mistake that you don't wanna repeat if you ever try to do anything like this. Don't let technical people sit in a room and come up with all the possible parameters of a human being that you could include in an XML message. You know, like hair color and religion and eye color and, you know, just stupid stuff, right? But it's just technical people coming up with things that you could potentially use in the future. And this was used by reporters to say, aha, smoking gun. They are going to use this information to discriminate against customers and to charge them more money, right? And
that's why the lawyer was there.
Well, yeah, unfortunately the lawyer missed that part. I mean, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, sorry, I could talk for hours about this, unfortunately.
No, this is great. This is great. So now you're in a room, you're bringing everyone together.
Oh, we fixed it, by the way. I should tell you that. So we had to, there's this resolution called Resolution 787. You can Google it. It defines what NDC is all about, the business side of it, right? It's almost like when Martin Luther went and nailed the thing on the door, right? It's we as airlines are going to control the offer for a change, which you all do very well. We don't, right? Think about how an airline gets their offers today to a GDS. They send their schedules to OAG. They send their fares through a company called Airline Tariff Publishing Company, ATPCO. And then there's a message to get inventory availability. And that's how a GDS comes up with all the shopping results before NDC. So if an airline wanted to use their revenue management system to dynamically calculate a fare, you can't, not without NDC. And that's one of the beautiful things that NDC brings. You guys have had that for a long time. We didn't. It also brings personalization capabilities. Yeah. I've got a family. Now I know it's a family of 4 traveling together to Orlando. I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what other types of things I could offer to these people, because clearly they're going to see the Mouse or Universal. Or it's one guy on a Tuesday going to Minneapolis in February. That's probably not for fun. Could be, but you know, maybe not, right? So that's a business traveler, and you're going to offer and tailor things, but other than that, it's hard to really personalize your offer unless you know what's their loyalty number, what are some defining characteristics that I can get so I can put my best foot forward. And that's probably an area that both industries are struggling to work with. But how we fixed it was in that Resolution 787 with the Department of Transportation, we said, we promise that you can always anonymously shop. We will never as an industry require you to always identify the customer up front. And that was a big one, because the travel agencies were like, wait, if I tell you who this customer is, you're going to charge more money. And the revenue management guys are like, shut up, shut up. But from a practical perspective, you've got to solve for this and say, well, look, you'll always, out of fairness, be able to shop without telling us, and then you could compare. And if I'm charging you more because you told me who you are, then, then it's shame on me. And it becomes an article in the Beat, and we're all in trouble.
And there's been a lot of articles in the Beat on NDC. Absolutely. Where you have all, and I mean, I can just blame Tye, of course, easy, but where this whole process has just been thrown under the bus, left and right, and still fast forward, 12 plus years, 10 years, it's still rolling out. It's actually just at the forefront of the rollout. But before we go there, I would love to talk about content and images. Like you talked about earlier that the green screens didn't have the capability to have images and content and all that sort of stuff. At the time, right, like you had ATPCO, and then you had Route Happy, this startup that was coming into the space, and they were all about taking all of the attributes, all of those images, and putting them into a beautiful carousel and all of this sort of stuff. It was kind of coming at a different angle while this whole NDC, is this correct, or have I completely made this up in my mind? Like,
well, what happened
because eventually it merges, and ATPCO acquires Route Happy, and now all of a sudden it's like NDC. Like, is that?
I have my nose in all of that. Yes. So the guy that founded Route Happy, Bob, he had these things called happiness scores.
Yep.
And when he came to all the airlines, we were like, no, I don't want you to have a happiness score on my flight. Because a lot of people aren't happy, and so therefore I don't want the sadness score, to be prevalent. So we said, I redirected Bob and said, you know what would be really cool, Bob, is because I had Amadeus, Sabre, Travelport all coming to me saying, we want to have rich content in our system. Will you give it to me? And we were saying, yeah, but if I give it to you, I've got to figure out how to give it to them in the format that they want. And there was a little portal that you would go in and upload your images. And I had a very small distribution team. I didn't have time to do all this. Hey, Bob, could you become an industry source for all of that information? And that's exactly what he did. And he did it so well that ATPCO ended up buying him, which was fantastic.
I remember at the time I was with Hitmonk, and we were the first meta search engine to take Route Happy content and put it into the meta search environment. And so I remember a lot of interesting conversations with Bob in New York.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll take that conversation off because I'm curious what he does now.
I don't know.
We'll take it offline.
Probably spending his money.
Yeah, made a lot of money. Okay, so that kind of all merged together. tell us where we are now. Like,
Okay.
tell us, and then I don't want to lose this because I'm looking at the time. What would you do differently? So I guess, which one do you want to start with?
Let's talk about one order.
Okay. Well, if you all just thought you now know what NDC is, we're going to completely switch. Tye's going to, not me, don't blame me. Tye's going to switch it all up on this new topic.
Yeah, so there's a thing called one order in the industry. And I always like to talk to my revenue accounting people and say, oh, if you think NDC is scary, wait till I tell you about one order, which got them to move forward on NDC, which was great. One order says you go to the airport, and this nice gate agent, hopefully, says something to the effect of, oh, your e-ticket is no longer associated with your PNR. And you're like, excuse me? What did you just say? And I didn't even know I had an e-ticket. Why do I have an e-ticket? It's 2024. Exactly. Why in this industry, in the airline industry, do we still have e-tickets? Why on earth? And there are lots of reasons why, but why do we have this thing called a PNR? And you all suffer as a result of this airline PNR that was founded in the GDS, right? You kind of shoehorn a hotel segment inside of this thing. And then, why do we have electronic miscellaneous documents to collect bag fees and Wi-Fi? Why can't it all be on the ticket? In fact, when I do speeches and stuff in the airline industry, I like to say, why can't we be like the hotel industry? Why can't at the end of your flight or whenever you get one invoice, one simple to read thing with one credit card surcharge that says, here was your seat, and there was the lounge pass, and the this, and the that, all on one easy to read thing. Instead, you get a charge for the ticket, and you get a separate credit card charge for the lounge, you get a separate credit card charge for your upgrade. It's maddening. Trying to expense that stuff is crazy. And that's because of the challenges that we have in our airline systems. Well, we want to get rid of all that. We want to move to a modern retailing platform with order-based stuff, right? Like you all, or like Amazon, for instance, right? Where you have one order with everything in it. That's what one order is all about. No more tickets, no more PNRs, no more EMDs. And a lot of people are saying, well, geez, if you would have told us that you were going to do this, we would have taken NDC more seriously. Yeah, okay, fair. But we also, as an industry, probably wouldn't have even thought of one order if it wouldn't have been for the modernization efforts of NDC, of us all getting together and thinking, how can we improve things? So one order is big. I think it will probably touch you all even, because as GDSs modernize their order management systems, how the hotel fits into that new order will probably be much more seamless and easy. It won't be so flight oriented.
So you just touched base, you just mentioned the GDS.
Yep.
For all my GDS partners out there, I want to ask, was the GDS part of the conversation in the beginning?
Yeah.
Are they now part of the solution, and are they part of the implementation of NDC today? And then are they part of this one order? Like, are they part of the working group that's pushing this all forward?
It was really easy for Amadeus to get there. It was like a 45-minute flight from Nice, so they always had like 10 people in the meeting, which was great. The other GDSs struggled a little bit to get there, to be present. The people that came to the meetings were always fantastic, right? They wanted to roll up their sleeves, they wanted to work together to come up with a session, and then they go back to the office, and sorry, GDS people, but sometimes they would tell their commercial colleagues, and they're like, we have to stop this. This is madness. We can't let them do this. So there was a lot of fear and FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt that was happening. And frankly, because we probably as an airline industry weren't doing a great job of educating people on what it was we were trying to do. So we ourselves, by not insisting that the TMCs and other folks were in the room with us, and by not sort of, maybe IATA even could have done a better job of educating, we created a lot of fear. And so the GDSs, unfortunately, at some point were fairly negative about NDC and pushing back. In fact, you may recall Sabre tried to buy Farelogix at one point, and then that became a whole. That was my first federal trial. That was really interesting. I gained like 30 pounds trying to deal with being a witness for a merger. Merger, not murder, merger. But anyway, I think now, though, everybody has come together in our side of the world to say, this is going to happen. There's no question. It's just a matter of now, how do we do it? And the GDSs are all investing to make it a reality. But had the airlines and IATA maybe done a better job up front, we could have potentially stopped some of this fear and consternation.
Got it. And so today, where are we with NDC rolling out, and what's next? What comes next?
So, the pandemic screwed everything up. We were on track in 2020 to have 20% of our tickets all going through NDC by 2020. Well, we all went home, right? And the pandemic screwed up so much stuff. So I would say, though, as an industry, we're slightly over 20%.
Okay.
I really didn't tell you what I do now. So I work for a company called Acceyla. We used to be Farelogix. I left United because I said, I love NDC so much, I'm going to move to a company that actually sort of invented it and make it available to multiple airlines. So we power over 50% of all NDC transactions for the industry. And I'm the product owner for NDC and One Order. And so we're moving the needle every day, getting more. We're breaking records on the number of tickets that we see coming through the system, especially as airlines deploy things like dynamic pricing. Because you can't do that through the legacy world, the only way that you can do that through NDC is through NDC, and so you're seeing more and more agencies adopt that. American Airlines, you might remember, last year announced that they were pulling some of their lowest fares out of the GDS. As a result, there was a scramble to get more people to use that. Now, SAP Concur, who you used to work for, they're working diligently to try to get NDC connected to their system through the GDSs. But until they do, we're still going to struggle to get the uptake. So one side of my job is remove all the barriers to adoption, work with the OBTs, work with the GDSs, get them what they need to make NDC a reality. And then on the other side, I'm building this new airline One Order platform to allow airlines to modernize the way that they retail content.
Yeah, interesting, fascinating. What would you have done differently? If we go back to the beginning, that something needs to change in the industry, right?
Yeah.
What would you do differently? Because obviously you brought all the airlines together and partners, and you've touched on this throughout this whole 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But what are some top takeaways that you really think should have been done differently?
If we would have known how much pushback we were going to get on NDC, we would have insisted that everybody be there right from the beginning. And that was a big mistake. So if you all ever try to do some big modernization thing, make sure you've got all the players in the room, because if you don't, it will bite you. You will end up pissing off a lot of people and not getting the momentum that you want, because people are afraid that you're trying to do something that's going to. Oh, that's the other thing. If there's somebody in the equation that's not going to make much money anymore, you got to figure that out head on. You've got to, right up front, understand what those pressures are, because if one party is feeling like they're going to have a major part of their revenue taken away, or they're going to have to close shop because of this new thing, which, by the way, hasn't happened, I think, to one single agency as a result of NDC, right? And the agencies that are really embracing it and flourishing are the ones that are saying, this affords me the opportunity to sell more content, so I want it. I want to modernize my systems to do that. So if we could have told that kind of story up front, and I think that we would have gotten a lot farther. And I think, this is the other thing. Some airlines conflated distribution cost surcharges and pulling content with NDC. So NDC got a bad rap right up front, because people were like, oh, NDC, isn't that thing where you're going to charge me more money and make my life hard? No, it shouldn't have been, right? It should have been the thing that, no, we're going to do this thing for you so that you have more content. We are trying to make the experience of buying airline content the same through the website as it is through the travel agency. Because think about it, a lot of corporate travelers, they don't have a choice. They can't buy from your direct channels. They have to buy through a TMC or a corporate booking tool. Why can't we put our best foot forward in that channel? Well, we couldn't with the messages that we had, so we had to modernize.
Got it. All right, we have 5 minutes left. Natalie, I don't know if we were going to open the floor open for questions.
Nope.
Okay. Okay.
We can keep going.
So I guess one of the most important serious questions that I have for you.
Yeah.
Did you or did you not bring the cold weather from Chicago when you flew here?
I did.
Because in your career with airlines,
yeah,
you just mentioned that you have never experienced what delayed you into getting into.
Oh, that's true.
Area.
That's true. Yesterday I had a really late flight last night. I won't say the airline, but it runs with American, and the plane was literally stuck to the ground in Chicago. They couldn't get the brakes to release. They couldn't get the tires to move. So yeah, I got here a little bit late.
Because your plane was
frozen, literally frozen to the ground. Yeah. So hey, you all think this is cold? I'm delighted. This is amazing. Yeah, this is fantastic.
Interesting. Anything else that you think is I mean, it's been such a journey. Every conference we go to, there's always a session on NDC.
Yeah.
And I think for us today, we wanted to make it completely different, not scripted, just having a conversation, to chat.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts? Anything else that you want to leave with this industry of this brilliant group of hoteliers and technology partners? Like anything?
Yeah, we'll use NDC as an example of what not to do, maybe.
Noted.
We did some good things. We're still doing some good things, but we could have done a much better job up front of being inclusive.
Yeah.
We just rolled up our sleeves and said, fine, if you're not going to show up, I'm going to do the business requirements myself, and that was a mistake. Oh, the other thing is mid-office and back-office systems at the agencies. I remember us saying, oh, they'll figure that out. No. They haven't figured it out.
Still to this day, they haven't figured it out.
No, because it relies on the P&R completely.
Yeah.
And so instead of sort of creating an order management system within the mid and back office systems that can sort of decorate the order, it doesn't do that. So those technology players, had we been more thoughtful, we should have brought them in so they could start redesigning their systems from the beginning or given us some advice on what to do. So that was a big thing as well. And so, yeah, just be inclusive. If there is a bigger technology play in your mind that you want to undertake as an industry, maybe talk about that first and paint a future vision so that these sub-initiatives that you want to do are more easily adopted. Like, okay, you want to go there? We can take bite-sized chunks to realize value along the way sooner. Terrific.
You weren't here earlier, but we covered, well, we didn't. On stage, it was about the pillars and what the HEDNA organization is doing, and maybe maybe we do want to reevaluate and come together on, what we can do to future hotel distribution.
Yeah.
And learn from what I blame you, did incorrectly.
Well, yeah, good. And get a lawyer.
And we'll have a lawyer. Yep, because Greg was here earlier.
Yeah.
Greg's still around.
Yeah.
No, but our attorney.
We have learned so much from working with each other. And in fact, the whole IATA organization was reorganized as a result of a lot of the work that we did to say, right, at IATA, I realize we're over time, I'll try to be quick. At IATA, there's a body of people that get together that basically vote on a bunch of resolutions. And all the airlines have to agree to abide by these resolutions. And the people that were turning up to vote for this stuff, they were like analysts that work for me and my colleagues, and it was like a rubber stamp. And we said, well, why can't we have people who are thinking about strategy and thinking about forward direction? Why can't those people be part of this, right? Thought leadership. Because you had the CEOs that would get together to have their board meetings, and then analysts who are just thinking about just answering technical questions. Where's that strategic vision? And so we really injected that into IATA so that we could get together and direct the working groups to do stuff that was meaningful. And that was a big thing, because a lot of people were like, oh, you're going to an IATA meeting? Oh, that's going to be fun for you. Right? It was a boondoggle, right? But now actually they go over and they get stuff done. So I'm not saying that HEDNA is a boondoggle at all. You all seem like you're having a lot of fun. But yeah, I think if you can ensure that you've got that strategic thinking injecting into any work groups that you establish, that's important too.
Got it. Excellent. Well, Tye, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.